just in case. Go ahead.
Good morning. Welcome to our PowerPoint presentation on China culture, or Chinese culture. The family dynamics for the Chinese culture, the family lives in together. Usually the son gets married and the parents move in with the son and their family. They have a meal rotation. The son's wife takes turns cooking, and if they have a brother who also marries, his wife will also cook. They also have arranged marriages. The role of the women, they're considered weak and unintelligent. They're supposed to serve the needs of their husbands and always put their husbands first. They are the caretaker of their husbands, and they are supposed to educate themselves. Males, the roles of the males, they are seen as the leader of the family, and they are considered to be strong and intelligent, and they run the government and take care and protect the family and protect the weak. When they get married, it is arranged by the parents or the relatives of the bride and groom. It was very common in the Chinese culture, but it's now rare. In the Chinese culture, the marriage is not simply love, it's a match between two people, and it's established relationship between two families. The Chinese men tend to marry later in life because they have to save up money to pay for the wedding. The wedding is very expensive because it's very lavish. If the wedding is not very fancy, they are frowned upon.
I'm Harley, and my topic was healthcare. And China has an insurance-based public healthcare system where parties are required to pay part of their own care. Unlike the United States that we live in, is a single buyer system. And unlike many developing countries, Chinese healthcare concentrates on prevention. They do a lot of immunizations, prenatal care for pediatrics, and they do a lot of sanitation. Urban Chinese tend to have better quality medical care than rural residents. And Chinese traditional medicine is the use of medicine, herbs, and acupuncture, among other things, and is combined with Western medical techniques in treating illness and injury. Western approaches are different because they're like plant extracts instead of just simple drugs. But the majority of traditional Chinese medicines are always plant extracts. The combination of different extracts is based on the yin and yang and Cha theories, which are often poorly understood in the West. Yin and yang are known to be balance of antagonists, where it derives from signaling processes in the body and regulates body function. And
Okay, my name is Ebony, and I studied the healthcare practices also. I researched about just how Chinese practice of sick care, and they often use herbs to relieve side effects from modern medicines, and they often use it for cancer patients who have chemotherapy. They also use acupuncture to basically restore health and wellness by inserting needles into the body in specific points. And another thing that they do is use corning and pinching, and it's a special massage technique that is used to draw out fever and illnesses. In the Chinese culture, it is important for you to be aware that they are fearful of blood drawn, because they believe that will weaken their body, and they also may avoid surgery because they want to keep their body intact. When they discuss about terminal illnesses, the family prefers for them to tell the patient instead of the doctors. When they die, they may desire special needs, such as placing amulets or cloths on the body. And sometimes the family likes to bathe the body after the death according to cultural customs. As far as organ donations, they don't agree to give their organs because it would affect their ancestors, and they may oppose to autopsy because they like to keep their body intact.
And more on the death and dying rituals. When a person dies, family members wear black bands around their upper arms for a month or two. And at the funeral, there's usually a really large picture that's of the deceased. And black and white are the color for the dead. And people wear white clothes to funerals and bring presents of white and black cloth for money or money. Family members burn incense and yellow paper. The yellow paper is considered money for the dead. Family members also burn yellow paper on every anniversary of a person's death.
Hey, I'm Shayla, and I have nutrition. What do y'all think is, what do y'all think Chinese people or we do whenever we eat with people? What do we normally do?
Socialize.
Yes. In the Chinese culture, whenever they eat, they normally, the main thing is they socialize and they grow relationships in China. And also, whenever they eat, do y'all know what they normally use?
Chopsticks.
Yes, they use chopsticks. So they use these with all meals. So, and then whenever they eat, let's say you're eating with the chopsticks and then you're done. So you would always lay them on the side of your plate, on the table. You would never leave them in the bowl or plate, whatever you have. You would always put them on the table. And then whenever you're done eating, you would leave. So you wouldn't eat and stick around and talk or nothing. You would talk while you're eating. So yeah, so you wouldn't have any family dysfunctions or anything. And then whenever you're eating, let's say you're eating noodles and you go to eat the noodle, you wouldn't you would, if you slurp them, it would be a compliment to the hostess. So like in America, I know if you're slurping your noodles, and your grandma would probably slap you and be like, don't do that. But in China, slurping's a compliment to the hostess. And whenever you go to a restaurant or to someone's house, they would put all the food in the middle of the table, and the hostess would turn the rotating table little platform thing where the food is on, and then the guest would serve the hostess. So basically the hostess would turn the table and say, I want that. And then the guest would get the food and put it on their plate. And that's also a sign out of respect for the hostess that the guest would do that. And and with tipping, whenever you go to a restaurant, normally tipping is an insult because the superior would do it to the inferior.
But as time goes on, tipping is a little bit more, it happens a little bit more, and they don't think about it as much. And with their food, they mainly eat what is grown around them. So like here, it's like corn and beans and peanuts and stuff. So we would, if we were Chinese, we would basically eat that mainly. And then with their fruits and vegetables, they would only eat them in the season that they're grown. So like grapes, you wouldn't go in the wintertime and go get your grapes. So yeah, so they only eat them in the season. Do you have any questions?
Hey, I'm Jennifer, and my part of the project was nutrition. What do y'all think the most essential part of health is in the Chinese culture?
Health and nutrition.
That's right. There are strict rules for food combinations and timing of indigestion, especially in relation to life events, such as childbirth or surgery. Many people in China are vegetarians or only eat small amounts of meat. Many are also lactose intolerant and rely on alternative sources of calcium and protein such as soy milk, tofu, leafy greens, vegetables, and soy products. Beef, beans, and legumes are often eaten whole or used to make powders, noodles, and paste to help prepare them for other meals. Rice is often given to the sick children. Some children in Chinese orphanages are on a soft or liquid diet until they're about 3 or 4 years old. When adopting an orphanage child, it is important to give them a transition diet to help them from a native diet to what will eventually become their normal diet at home. Chinese have an increased sensitivity to alcohol. Often they demonstrate facial flushing and vasomotor responses when drinking, which may explain the low alcoholism rate among the Chinese culture.
This is related to health practices. Good luck articles like jade robes around the waist may be worn to ensure good health and good luck, try to avoid removing. Elderly, especially women, may not be able to read and write. Eye contact should be avoided with authority figures is a sign of respect, so it's best to try to avoid contact with them as much as possible. They're often shy, especially in unfamiliar environments, and the use of their first name could also be considered disrespectful. Elders are very respected and honored, and it is also a traditional belief that crying out may attract evil spirits, and the silence protects baby. Sometimes the necklace is tied around baby's neck before the cord is cut.
Hi guys, I'm Ashley, and from what I learned from this project was that when you take care of a Chinese patient, you may find that the room is full of guests because it's their family. They live in large groups, all their family. Usually the parents live with their sons and their families. You can also expect to see a female nurse taking care of a male patient may feel unease because he thinks that females are weak and intelligent. I also how I will use this is that if a Chinese male patient does not feel or appear comfortable with a female nurse, then a male nurse should be summoned, if at all possible, to provide care. And by becoming knowledgeable in this cultural differences, it prevents being judgmental or having feelings hurt. And this is what I've learned from doing this culture project.
Have
What I learned from this project about the Chinese culture is that they need to be fearful of invasive procedures, and they need to avoid surgeries, wanting the body to be kept intact. They also in the Chinese culture, a patient may use herbs instead of other techniques to treat side effects. I would show respect by allowing the patient family to inform them of any terminal illness. I would also carefully provide empathy or comfort, as the patient may not want to talk about their terminal illness. In relation to death, the family may want to wash the body and may desire that special clothing be placed on the body, and I will also respect their decision to not consent to autopsy.
In doing this project, I learned that traditional Chinese medicine is a mix of herbs and acupuncture. The medication that they use is a mix of plant extracts instead of a drug. And some of their traditions are based on the yin and yang and Chi theories, which is a Chinese philosophy and religion made up of two sides, one negative and dark, and the other positive and bright. And the interactions between the two determine their destiny. I will show respect by seeing what other options my patient has besides a drug. I will also try to have or request something that is made of herbs or plant extracts to make them more comfortable when taken. Also, I could be respectful by knowing that their culture is different than ours, and I could go above and beyond to make sure that my patient and their family feels comfortable with the treatment that is offered to them.
Hold on, stop. Stop. That's okay, don't
In researching for this project, I learned that eating is a way of socializing and building relationships. In China, the Chinese use chopsticks for all of their meals and not traditional American tableware. Many Chinese believe that saying no is impolite, so the nurse should be cautious not to mistake silence for agreement. As a nurse, I know when my patient does not respond to me when asked a question, not to take this as an agreement to further my questioning to get a better understanding of the situation. I will ensure that I am careful to respect the unique culture or cultures for my patients and understand that we may come from different parts of the world and have different belief systems, but we must find common ground to ensure proper care is provided. I will have a non-judgmental attitude and strive to provide culturally sensitive care to all my patients, treating them with respect and dignity regardless of where they came from or what their culture is.
I'm Taylor Osmond, and what I learned from this project is that if a Chinese person were eating their food and started slubbering, then it wouldn't be considered rude. And also, if they were eating with family, I would try not to interrupt them, because that's mainly their family time and how they build relationships. And what I learned from this project to show respect is the Chinese would be that they have cold dishes first as appetizers, hot dishes in between, and fruit and stuff at the end. And I would also give them chopsticks whenever they go to eat.
I learned that in a clinical setting with a Chinese patient or client, that it is important to note that the traditions of the Chinese culture, what is disrespectful